Hi, everyone. Welcome to the GoldFish Report. I'm your host and researcher, Louisa. This is Wednesday, June 17th. And just one second, I've got to do something here. Yeah, 2020. And this is GoldFish Report number 507. And I felt very compelled to. Why is this? This is strange. Okay, I felt very compelled to do a report tonight. Let me say hello to everybody in the live chat. Hi, Isla, how are you? Yogi for the Lord, how are you? Hi, Morgan H, how are you? Thanks for joining me. Tonight we're going to have an interesting report. Does anybody remember, anybody who took psychology in college, right? Does anybody remember the Stanford Prison Experiment? Where have we seen this before, folks? Right? Where this let me read here. In 1971, a team of psychologists designed and executed an unusual experiment that used a mock prison setting with college students role-playing prisoners and guards to test the power of the social situation to determine behavior. The research, known as the Stanford Prison Experiment, has become a classic demonstration of situational power to influence individual attitudes, values, and behavior. So extreme, swift, and unexpected were the transformations of character in many of the participants that this study, planned to last 2 weeks, had to be terminated by the 6th day. I'm going to screen share this because this is important, folks. We're seeing this play out right in front of our eyes. This isn't necessarily it because this is about behavior and the power of the social situation, right? Under these conditions, under certain conditions, right? This study is saying that these people were transformed. There was transformations of the character of these people, of the participants in the study. So here's the findings. A person-centered analysis of human behavior attributes most behavior change in positive or negative directions to internal dispositional features of individuals. The factors commonly believed to direct behavior are to be found in the operation of genes, temperament, personality traits, personal pathologies and virtues. Okay, a situation-centered approach, in contrast, focused on factors external to the person, to the behavioral context in which individuals are functioning. Although human behavior is almost always a function of the interaction of person and situation, social psychologists have called attention to the attributional biases in much of psychology and among the general public that overestimates the importance of dispositional factors while underestimating situational factors. This fundamental attribution error, they argue, leads to a misrepresentation of both causal determinants and means for modifying undesirable behavior patterns. Research by social psychologist Stanley Milgram, PhD, was one of the earliest demonstrators of the extent to which a large sample of ordinary American citizens could be led to blindly obey unjust authority in delivering extreme levels of shock to an innocent victim. Absolutely. That's another very good example of an experiment to demonstrate the same thing that we're talking about right now, where people's blind I guess they're blind obedience to authority, right? Blind obedience, not questioning anything, just blind obedience. Now, the people in that study, the participants who were supposedly the victims, were actually they were never electrocuted. But the person who was supposed to be pressing those levers and increasing the amount of electricity, supposedly shocking the person, those people truly believed that they were inflicting pain on someone in the other room by the request of the person in the white lab coat, right? The experimenter of the study, right? The experimenter who was wearing that white lab coat, who they had complete blind obedience to, like a Dr. Fauci, right? Complete blind obedience, folks. And so what the Milgram study showed us was that these people, as they said right here, delivered extreme levels of shock to innocent victims because of their, it's a basic fundamental attribution error, right? Where they blindly obeyed authority. They blindly obeyed authority. So let's just take a look too at the Stanford Prison Experiment extended that analysis to demonstrate that surprisingly profound impact of institutional forces on the behavior of normal, healthy participants. Philip Zimbardo and his research team, Craig Hanley, Curtis Banks, Jeff Jaffe, and ex-convict consultant Carlo Prescott, designed a study that separated the usual dispositional factors among correctional personnel and prisoners from the situational factors that characterize many prisons. They wanted to determine what prison-like settings bring out in people that are not confounded by what people bring into prisons, right? They sought to discover to what extent the violence and antisocial behaviors often found in prisons can be traced to the bad apples that go into prisons or to the bad barrels, the prisons themselves, that can corrupt behavior of even ordinary good people. The study was conducted this way. College students from all over the United States who answered a city newspaper ad for participants in a study of prison life were personally interviewed, given a battery of personality tests, and completed background surveys that enabled the researchers to pre-select only those who were mentally and physically healthy, normal, and well-adjusted. They were randomly assigned to role play either prisoners or guards, in the simulated prison setting constructed in the basement of Stanford University's psychology department. Now, I know a lot of people think, I think there's a lot of people who believe that there was actually a lot of MK Ultra going on in there as well, but that's for another conversation. The prison setting was designed as functional simulation of the central features present in the psychology of imprisonment, right? I'm not going to go into the details of the setting, but what happened here was that the Stanford Prison Experiment has become one of psychology's most dramatic illustrations of how good people can be transformed, folks, into perpetrators of evil, and healthy people can begin to experience pathological reactions traceable to situational forces. Its messages have been carried in many textbooks in the social sciences, in classroom lectures across many nations, and in popular media renditions. Okay, so what is this talking about, right? Basically, what they did was they didn't have they gave the they gave the students the option, as it said, to be a prisoner or a guard, right? And they basically said to the prisoners that they needed to be authoritative or whatever, and that, so the kids were basically acting, but to the best that they could. But what happened over the next few days caused such trauma, I would say, psychological stress, that they had to end the study after either 5 or 6 days, and it was originally scheduled for 2 weeks because it was obviously causing harm. And I have a video of that which I wanted to share with everybody. I wanted to share some scenes from the actual experiment. Now, just realize that this footage is very old and it's not very good quality, but this is the actual experiment. Okay, hold on one second. YouTube is doing something weird. I don't know what YouTube's doing. Yeah, exactly. Let me screen share this for everybody, because I'm gonna show you this is what's really happening to us right now. We're all in the Stanford study right now, folks. We're all in the Stanford study. This is actually not the page I want to share. Hold on a second. Where'd it go? Here it is. Okay. Sorry about that. I kind of feel like we're all, prisoners and prison guards. We're actually both of them, depending on the social situation that we're in. At home, we're prisoners, right? But when we're out, some people assume the authority, folks. They assume the authority of those prison guards, and they will act assertively and aggressively towards people, and inappropriately. Okay, inappropriately. I'm not talking about people who are trying to. What if you forget? You just forget. You're walking around and you forget that maybe you got too close to somebody. But these people go nuts. They go nuts. They get nasty. They tell you, crazy things. These people get triggered, right? Oh, man. And since this was the third time it really happened to me, and I had other people with me, I don't know. I just felt like, never mind, doesn't matter what I felt like. I'm sure you've all felt that way. I really felt like, dunking their head in a toilet. I don't know. You know what I mean? Because they just don't get it. They don't get it. They drank the Kool-Aid, right? They drank the Kool-Aid. The guy in the white lab coat, a Stanley Milgram study showed, right? Blind obedience, or call it ignorance. Blind obedience, right? Here you have the president at the news conference telling everybody to use hydroxychloroquine, and you have Fauci the rat, standing next to him, telling everybody, oh, it's not approved through it's not been through clinical trials. You got to thank our president for that, folks. You got to thank our president for that. But here is one of the prisoners who really had a breakdown, and he's going to tell you about it himself.
I was told that I couldn't quit. And at that point, I felt that, well, it was really a prison. And at that point, I don't know, there's no way I can describe how I felt. I just felt totally hopeless. More hopeless than I'd ever felt before.
Yeah, and that wasn't even a real prison. That wasn't even a real situation, but it became, because there was no guidelines. There was no real guidelines as to what to do, other than saying something general like, prison guards, sure, they were asking what should they do. Well, if you're a prison guard, you're supposed to be authoritative, whatever. But what ended up happening, and I'm trying to look for more of a description of it. According to Zimbardo and his colleagues, the Stanford Prison Experiment demonstrates the powerful role that the situation can play in human behavior. Because the guards were placed in a position of power, they began to behave in ways they would not usually act in their everyday lives or other situations. Actually, I have a feeling those people in the store tonight just couldn't wait. They couldn't wait to play cop in the store. Oh, God help us, honestly. Somebody's got to help us. Yeah. So here we go. Let's talk a little bit about what happened in this study, okay? I'm going to screen share this. There's other videos. There's other video I'm going to share, okay? Here we have another video here. Would you stop that? This is the prisoners all lined up, right? So here's the prisoners lined up, and this is what their experience. This is a very short clip, so let's look at what the prisoners were dealing with.
Prisoner 819 did a bad thing. Prisoner 819 did a bad thing. Prisoner 819 did a bad thing. Prisoner 819 did a bad thing.
As soon as I realized that 819 could hear this, I rushed to the room where I had left him. And what I found was a boy crying hysterically, while in the background his fellow prisoners were chanting and yelling that he is a bad prisoner and that they were being punished because of him.
Yep. And that's like what these people in the store were like today, like teaming up against me with, and I had minors with me, and I had an elderly person with me, and it was like, can't you just finish up? You know, you've been there 20 minutes. Nobody else can get in there. And, you know, we can't. I have an elderly person who needs to sit down. So can you, you know, I waited long enough. I need to go in there and get that sample of shoe for her to try on and get out of the way. But these people want what they want. Their rules are, you know, rules are made by them. They assume the authority. They feel they are, you know, they feel emboldened and empowered by having this liberal governor who will support them, right? They'll support him. So let's see what else happened in this study, because this is what's happening to us right now. I can see it. The only prisoner who did not want to speak to the priest. So this is a situation where a priest was sent in. At this point in the study, he invited a Catholic priest who had been a prison chaplain to evaluate how realistic our prison situation was. And the result was truly Kafkaesque. The chaplain interviewed each prisoner individually, and he watched in amazement as half the prisoners introduced themselves by number rather than by their name. After some small talk, he popped the key question, "Son, what are you going to do to get out of here? What are you doing to get out of here?" When the prisoners responded with puzzlement, he explained that the only way to get out of the prison was with the help of a lawyer. He then volunteered to contact their parents to get legal aid, and if he wanted to, some of the prisoners accepted this offer. So yes, you know, they were all acting, exactly. And to a certain extent, you know, a lot of these kids did know pretty much what Zimbardo was looking for. But let's see further what happened. The priest's visit further blurred the line between role-playing and reality. In daily life, this man was a real priest, but he had learned to play a stereotyped program role so well, taking in a certain way, folding his hands in a prescribed manner, that he seemed more like a movie version of the priest than a real priest, thereby adding to the uncertainty that they were all feeling about whether their roles ended in their personal identities, where their roles ended, and where their personal identities began. Only prisoner number 819 did not want to speak to the priest. He was feeling sick and had refused to eat, wanted to see a doctor rather than a priest. Eventually, he was persuaded to come out of his cell and talk to the priest and superintendent so we could see what kind of doctor he needed. While talking to us, he broke down and began to cry hysterically, just as had the other two boys we released earlier from the study. Right? I took the chain off his foot, the cap off his head, and told him to go and rest in a room that was adjacent to the prison yard. I said that it would get him some food and then take him to see a doctor. Now, this is Zimbardo writing this up. It's his quotes. While I was doing this, one of the guards lined up the other prisoners and had them chant aloud, "Prisoner 819 is a bad prisoner," which you just saw the video of. So what he said was, as soon as he realized that 819 could hear the chanting, he raced back to the room where he had left him and found that the boy was sobbing uncontrollably, while in the background his fellow prisoners were yelling that he was a bad prisoner. No longer was the chanting disorganized and full of fun. It had been on the first day. Now it was marked by utter conformity and compliance, as if a single voice was saying 819 is bad. He suggested that they leave, but through his tears he said he could not leave because the others had labeled him a bad prisoner. Even though he was feeling sick, he wanted to go back and prove he was not a bad prisoner. At that point, I said, "Listen, you are not 819, you are," whatever his name was, "and my name is Dr. Zimbardo. I'm a psychologist, not a prison superintendent, and this is not a real prison. This is just an experiment. And those are students, not prisoners, just like you. Let's go." He stopped crying suddenly, looked up at me like a small child awakened from a nightmare, and replied, "Okay, let's go." And then you had all these things, like you had a parole board, and I mean, this got so intense. This got types of guards. By the fifth day, a new relationship had emerged between prisoners and guards. The guards now fell into their job more easily, a job which at times was boring and at times interesting. There were three types of guards. First, there were tough but fair guards who followed prison rules. Second, there were good guys who did little favors for the prisoners and never punished them. And finally, about a third of the guards were hostile, arbitrary, and inventive in their forms of prisoner humiliation. These guards appeared to thoroughly enjoy the power they wielded. Yet none of our preliminary personality tests were able to predict this behavior. See that, folks? See that, folks? The only link between personality and prisoner behavior was a finding that prisoners with a high degree of authoritarianism endured our authoritarian prison environment longer than did the other prisoners. There was also a point at which the prisoners did rebel from the study. So, I mean, they had to be debriefed. Prisoners' coping styles, there's all kinds of things that were happening here. At first, some prisoners rebelled or fought with the guards, for prisoners reacting by breaking down emotionally as a way to escape the situation. One prisoner developed a psychosomatic rash over his entire body when he learned that his parole request had been turned down. Now, you know what, folks? We can really, really extrapolate from this, can't we? Can't we generalize that we're all basically being these prisoners, right? Aren't we all being subjected, right? We're all being prisoners in our own home. We're being, forced, or having these draconian, rules imposed on us. And there's not even any scientific background, yet we have governors issuing states of emergency for this. Folks, let me say, and I've said this so many times on the GoldFish Report, we've lost our country. We've lost it. We've lost it. Look at Chaz, the nation of Chaz in the Northwest. Really? Oh my God, you don't even want to know. You must know what's going on in there. It's crazy. Yes, a lot of it was, yes, MK Ultra had something to do. I mean, can you imagine like just designing a prison in the basement of a of a of a university? How'd that get there? All right, that's another question for another time, because I don't know. I guess they really needed to make it realistic, right, in order to simulate that and to actually get the results. But what was very profound about this, and some of the kids, let me just go and see if I can find one more, because it's so profound what's happening right now. What some of the kids said in their post experiment interview, their debriefing, was that, especially one of the kids that was a prisoner, was talking about a guard who really mistreated him. And he said, I really know the guy. Let me see if I can find that. He said, I really think the guy, yeah, post-experimental interview. Is this the guy? Let's see.
I had really thought that I was incapable of this.
Yeah, oh, you want to hear this? Listen to this. Stanford University students, right? I don't know if this one was from Stanford or another university, but we'll see.
I had really thought that I was incapable of this kind of behavior. I was surprised, no, I was dismayed to find out that I could really be that I could act in a manner so absolutely unaccustomed to anything I would even really dream of doing. And while I was doing it, I didn't feel any regret. I didn't feel any guilt. It was only afterwards, when I began to reflect on what I had done, that this behavior began to dawn on me, and I realized that this was a part of me that I hadn't really noticed before.
Yeah. Everybody is capable of this, And this experiment really brought that out. And some people call it the shadow side of ourselves, right? And I've heard the expression, and I'm sure a lot of you have as well, that we're all capable of being an Adolf Hitler or a Mother Teresa, right? We all have this in us. We have this, we have the capacity to be, loving brothers and sisters and good Samaritans. And then we have this capacity we have the capacity. It doesn't mean we act on it, but we have this capacity to also, assume authority and blindly obey authority, right? And it all depends on which one you feed, right? We all have a wolf, a good wolf and a bad wolf, right, within us. We have, and I think in Native American, Native Indian terms, I think that's how they refer to it, is like you have this good wolf and the bad wolf. But which one do you feed? Which one do you feed is the one that is the one that you're going to nurture, and the one that you're going to bring out, right? You know, there's a lot of reporting folks. Yeah, the sound. Sorry, I think that's my air conditioner. There's nothing I can do about it. Sorry, can't do anything about it. Not right now, because I'm live. If I was pre-recording this, I could pause it, but I'm live and I can't. So I'm sorry. Sorry about it. Thermostat's not in my room. Okay, unless it's some other noise, and then it's possible that it's like AI or something, right? Because every time I do, and by the way, I'm going to be having Cyrus Parsa join us on the GoldFish Report to discuss his lawsuit regarding artificial intelligence, and this will be our part 5 of our 500 series it's a very special series that we've been doing on the GoldFish Report for our 500th report. It's actually 5 reports on artificial intelligence by different people, different backgrounds. It's a multidisciplinary look on artificial intelligence. So you thought it was something else. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, exactly. I mean, what we have is history repeating itself, but what we have is, I have to say, when I was studying psychology in college, I think I was so excited about what I was learning in social psychology, because these things didn't occur to me at that time, and I didn't realize the power of the social situation, and this psychology, everything we're looking at, we can review in terms of psychology and of cases that have been discussed, like the Kitty Genevieve, right? The case where this woman was murdered in, I think it was in Brooklyn, and there were a number of bystanders who stood by and did nothing. Nobody called, nobody intervened, nobody called for help, nothing. And the question was why? And it was another attributional error, right? It was another error where everybody thought that somebody else was already doing something. Everybody already assumed and presumed that somebody else was already doing something. Someone else was already calling the police, or someone else was already doing something, calling the police, I suppose is what it was. And that's what was discovered in these dilemmas that we tried to review in psychology. And there's also the anonymous effect, right? Where you have they wanted to know about all these hooligans in the UK, right, who would stampede these stadiums. And why would so many people just suddenly, be there enjoying a game and in a stadium and in all the merriment and fanfare, right? And the sports and then suddenly you have the stampede happen, and you have all these people just kind of like almost randomly, like sporadically, just like something triggered somebody, and they started the stampede onto the stage, right? I'm sorry, onto the what is it called? The field. And they started, to a lot of people were trampled and were hurt and injured, right? And they found in cases like that, which is what we're seeing in the cases of these anarchists. I'm not calling them protesters, because they're not protesters. They're anarchists. Maybe there's a few protesters in there, a few. I'll give them that. But they are anarchists, and this is engineered. It is so obvious it's engineered. We've reported on this on Political Theater with Jim Fetzer. We've gone over the evidence for it. We've gone over the brochures where they were recruiting for anarchists. They were looking to pay people. We've showed so much evidence of this, okay? So out of hand. Oh, look, some fawn. Something nice to look at for a change. Aunt Jemima's gone. Can't have Aunt Jemima. Nope. That's racist. Unbelievable. Here they're trying to predictive programming in Netflix kids cartoons, right? Stretch Armstrong. And they're showing, you know, like protesters outside. Are people being transformed? What's going on? Here they have Craigslist ad to, if you've been diagnosed as having COVID virus, now this is in the Tulsa, Oklahoma area, right? Oh, what's happening in Tulsa? Oh, just the president's rally, right? So someone is looking to send some COVID positive patients to the Trump rally, it looks like. Look at that. We are hiring 20 of you to work in large-scale tests on transmission of the virus. Right. Please assemble outside the BOK Convention Center on Saturday night wearing all black, or if arriving in a group of 4, please dress in the following manner. Look, one dressed in all white, one dressed in all black, one dressed in coveralls, one barefoot or wearing flip-flops. This will make it easy to identify you. Singers or people with a bad cough preferred. Now, is this, do you think this violates the COVID, you know, the social distancing, or the, you know, they didn't say bring a mask, did they? They didn't say bring a mask. This is sick, folks. This is sick. It's really sick. I don't know what else to say. I think the president's doing everything he can, at least I certainly hope he is. And there's just so many scenes of this violence, right? Where's this other, okay. So here we had a member of parliament in Brazil. Let's talk about the evidence about this COVID being a scamdemic, right? Members of parliament of Brazil break into a hospital that claimed to have 5,000 infected and 200 deaths from COVID-19 and caught them red-handed. Not one person. They have frauded the world. Let's watch. Let's listen.
Eu vou entrar. Que vai agora. Cadê o armado? Vem comigo. Ele não quer deixar eu entrar no hospital. Vem cá. Entra comigo aqui. Agora eu vou entrar. Vai segurando. Jesus, deixa ninguém chegar perto de mim. Ninguém. E se chegar, toma todo o procedimento, vou caminhar pra delegacia. Se ficar aqui, eu vou caminhar pra delegacia. Mete o pé. Ouviu? Vai cair pra delegacia? Você não precisa abrir o portão. Você tá fazendo sacanagem. É o quê? Aqui é privado? Aqui é ladrão, rapaz. Só tem bandido aqui, rapaz. Campo privado aqui. Isso aqui é obra pública. É dinheiro do povo. É dinheiro do povo, rapaz. É dinheiro do povo. E me barra pra você ver. Quem é isso aí, cara? Se não é privado, esquerda. Ninguém fala nada. É aqui todo mundo. Vamos lá. É por isso que não queria deixar eu entrar, gente. Ó, isso aqui é pra namorar hoje. Olha isso aqui. Não tem nada pronto. Uma covardia com a população. Ladrão, governador safado. Ladrão, empresariados. Você é corrupta. Por isso que não queriam deixar o deputado entrar. Isso aqui era para estar sendo inaugurado desde o dia 13 de abril. Olha o estado disso aqui. Olha isso aqui. Aqui. Botaram para entrar. Eu tiro aqui. Deputado. Não, calma aí. Ninguém me respeitou. Não queria deixar eu entrar. Agora vamos começar o show. Bora. O senhor pode entrar, segurança não. O senhor pode entrar, segurança não importa. Então cala a boca, não fala comigo. Cala a boca, pô. Então vem falar comigo, pô. Vem cá falar comigo. Vai correr. Ninguém me responde, então vem. Você é um ladrão.
Nobody there. I just turned the volume off because it was a lot of shouting, and unless you know Portuguese, you probably won't understand
dinheiro
it.
Da saúde, porque quando rouba dinheiro da saúde, não estão roubando só dinheiro não, estão roubando vidas. As pessoas não estão tendo o direito de lutar pela sua vida porque não tem um hospital pronto. Ainda fica uma pessoa de baba-ovo ali, defendendo o governador. Quem defende bandido é bandido como tal, é bandido como governador.
Okay, so the translation, I don't have an exact translation, but this is about being going into the hospital and not finding any COVID patients. So you know what, folks, we definitely think that we've got some problems going on here, and I think the president's doing everything that he possibly can. Here you have some Orthodox Jews that cut the lock of parks to allow children to play in defiance of New York City orders. So this is probably in Brooklyn, or it could be in New York City, but you know, enough is enough, right? Don't you think enough is enough? I mean, folks, doesn't the flu actually kill more people than this COVID? Because they're really trying to inflate the numbers, right? They're trying to inflate the numbers, as we talked about in the beginning of the report. It's just getting crazy. It's getting crazy, folks. It's on our Twitter page. It's on our Twitter page. Olasano raid from Brazil. Well, I can't understand Portuguese, so if you have some, I used to know Portuguese actually. I have a Brazilian family actually, but you know, I don't know that well. So that's probably the one. So it's possible. But people are like in a trance here. That's why I'm calling this transformation of America. Aside from the MK Ultra and all the mind control, it is mind control. All of it is mind control. The question is, what are we going to do about it? What are we going to do about it, folks? Because this is not going to end anytime soon. There's no evidence to show this is going to end anytime soon. They've already succeeded. In fact, what I heard, Ovid is Latin for sheep. Well, there you have it. Yeah, that's it. That's us. We're sheep. We're sheep because we're letting them do it. We're letting them do it, right? So I heard tonight in a report that all major cities are going to have autonomous zones in them. Are you ready for this? Are you ready for autonomous zones in cities? You know, George Orwell warned us. And at the end of his warning, he says, don't let it happen. Don't let it happen. It's happening. We're letting it happen. It's too many sheep with their heads in the sand, right? Too many people burying their heads in the sand. No, I don't want to look at anything unpleasant. No, I don't want to deal with politics. I don't like it. Our family fights over it. So stick your head in the sand, because it's going to come to our doorsteps soon, people. And it's not going to be anything that you want. We just have to, and I don't mean you, I mean the GoldFish Report viewers, you guys get it. I'm hoping that somebody's going to stumble across this and wake up. That's what my hope is. Yeah, it's the end game. I'm hoping that there's going to be people who stumble across this video and the light bulb goes off, you know, or any of our reports, any of our 500 reports, right? Exactly. What are we going to do, folks? What are we going to do? In fact, what is the president getting ready to do? And so we've got a lot of things to talk about with regard to the president, and I will talk about this briefly. Yeah. You know, the president delivered a commencement at West Point, and survival of America and the endurance of civilization itself depends on the men and women just like each of you. It depends on people who love their country with all their heart, energy, and soul. But all of our viewers on GoldFish Report know that these are not God-loving, these are not American-loving people who are doing this, right? These are not people who love America, who are anarchists and who are being paid to destroy property and to harm people, abuse them, beat them, murder them. These are not American-loving people. And they certainly don't need to be in America. If they don't love it here, they can certainly leave. And, you know, if they're not patriots, no one's keeping them here, really. That's the truth of it. But that's not their goal. Their goal is to destroy America. That's their goal. It's to destroy America. It's hard to believe, but it's true. And we have to not let that happen. We have to not let that happen. So we have another executive order. I'm sorry, we have another notice of national emergency with respect to North Korea. President found it necessary to maintain certain restrictions with respect to North Korea that would otherwise have been lifted pursuant to Proclamation 8271 from June 26, 2008, which terminated the exercise of authorities under the Trading with the Enemy Act. Oh, now that's an interesting thing to be citing with respect to North Korea, which would probably make them enemy combatants, right? On August 30th, 2010, the President signed Executive Order 13551, which expanded the scope of the national emergency declared in the prior executive order to deal with the unusual and extraordinary threat to national security, foreign policy, and economy of the United States posed by the government and policies in North Korea. Okay, come and take a look at this, guys. You can come to the goldfishreport.blogspot.com and check that out. What else is going on? So of course there was a text. No, I'm not screen sharing, am I? Sorry about that. I'll screen share now. Of course there was a letter sent to the Senate regarding this, which is required by law, and it's published in the Federal Register. This is a readout by the First Lady with her call with Governor Bill Lee of Tennessee. She called to discuss children's well-being and Tennessee's efforts to address mental and physical health for children and families. So the governor discussed the COVID-19 Child Wellbeing Task Force and so forth. And so, you know, the First Lady's very, very big supporter of children and children's education and development. Let's see, what else do we have? Okay, West Wing reads, there isn't a coronavirus second wave. In recent days, the media has taken to sounding the alarm bells over a second wave of coronavirus infections. Such panic is overblown, Vice President Mike Pence writes in the Wall Street Journal. While talk of an increase in cases dominates cable news coverage, more than half of states are actually seeing cases decline or remain stable. The truth is that we've made great progress over the past 4 months, and it's a testament to the leadership of President Trump. Now look, I'm not saying, folks, for a minute, I'm not saying that there isn't some kind of version of this coronavirus that could be extremely, I would say, malignant or maleficent. You know what I'm saying? There is, I think it's been designed, or it appears, because it seems to have been really targeting the elderly. It seems to have been designed to really have a greater impact in older patients. So for older population. And there's no excuse and no reason for governors to be sending, knowing that these nursing homes, you know, Governor Cuomo knowingly sent COVID positive patients into nursing homes to infect the population in the nursing homes. Well, that tells you what their agenda is right there, folks, doesn't it? So, and I know it does to our viewers. I know it does. So let's continue just kind of seeing what else is going on with the White House. Journalism's long-standing principles, objectivity, unbiased reporting, and a commitment to finding the truth did not fail. Rather, journalists failed to adhere to them. As journalists abandoned those core values in favor of an alternative approach, public trust in the press declined. Media ethics teacher Mark Grabowski writes in the Washington Examiner. President Trump signed an executive order yesterday to promote safe policing and safe communities. These measured but meaningful proposals are an excellent start and should receive broad bipartisan support in Congress and widespread adoption by law enforcement agencies, according to the Daily Signal. It should go without saying that the looting and rioting we witnessed recently was not justified by the death of George Floyd. Nowhere in the legal codes does it say that one unlawful act can provide an excuse for other unlawful acts. Their behavior cannot be sanctioned, nor should it be covered up, according to writing written by Frank Mealy of the Real Clear Politics. And you know, the reason why people, this is the other thing about psychology that I wanted to share with everybody. is the reason that people are doing these things in these large groups is because and like I was talking about the hooligans over in the UK who, get violent and all of that. It's because they think they're anonymous. There is this presumption, another attribution error, right, of anonymity. Because there's so many people, they feel anonymous. They feel this anonymity, right? They feel like they're not going to get caught or singled out. But the reality is, everybody has a phone and everybody, has the ability to take pictures and everybody's taking pictures. These stadiums have cameras and they can spot you and they can and they will. Everything and everybody, especially as you know in the UK, is probably the most surveilled country. At least London is the most surveilled city from the reports I've read. But you know how funny it is that this contact tracing app for this COVID is also contact tracing all of these protesters, or let's call them what they are, the anarchists. And they're going to find out who they're talking to. They're going to find out who they're talking to and who they're talking to and who they're talking to. And they're going to, they're going to find the queen bee and they're going to extinguish the hive. That's what the police are going to do. I just want to put it out here. I support our police. I know that our police put their lives on the line when they come to a call at your house or wherever you are. These are really brave. These are the most amazing cops. They're very brave, especially New York City cops. I can't believe how they're being treated. Cops, at least in my town, have been very decent. They've been very good. Neighboring towns, not so good, but but again, you're going to find good and bad in every profession. So it's not all cops. It's not all, although I really haven't found that many good politicians, to be honest. I think that might be the only exception to the rule. Yeah, people in the UK have propaganda artists there too. But the reason these people and so many people do this is of this phenomena of what's known as anonymity, right? Where they think that they're anonymous, and they think that because they're going to be anonymous, they're not going to be singled out in a crowd, that they feel like they're not going to be, that there aren't going to be consequences to their actions because they're anonymous. They believe that you see, that's the difference. See, folks, they believe that they're anonymous. So if they believe that those actions that they're engaging in are truly anonymous, then there's probably no limit. Then when you see what happened in the Zimbardo study that we talked about earlier, that they'll go to extreme degrees to act out in unlawful ways, and it's very concerning, folks. It's very, very concerning. That's why there had to be more guidelines. If you're going to social distance and you're going to do this, then if you're in a store, then you need to make it quick. You need to get in there and you need to move. You can't hog a whole aisle where nobody can go shopping because you're saying that people are too close to you. 20 minutes is too long. Get the shoes and go someplace else, or come back, let somebody else have a turn. You have an elderly person, they have to sit down, but nobody cares. Who cares? But boy, she cares about wanting to assume authority and tell you where you're wrong and be that prison guard and act authoritative. And they're all doing it, folks. They're all doing it. They're doing it in the stores. The cashiers are doing it. All the cashiers are doing it. Is this now in their training program? How to become fascists? How to become a fascist cashier? Yeah, the new handbook, how to be a fascist cashier. God, I'll tell you, if there was some other alternative, I would never go back to Target ever again. It was it was horrible. It was like humiliating. Like, what makes that person think she needs to correct me? I wasn't intentionally doing anything, and I wasn't even too close to anybody. She was behind her plexiglass, thing there that they have, and the other people were too far away from me. This is crazy. Oh, it's so crazy. All right, let's continue. Sorry, so triggered. Man, you should have seen me earlier. It was not good. it's just too much. It's way too much anymore. It's just way too much. Okay. Delegation of certain functions and authorities under the Elie Wiesel Genocide and Atrocities Prevention Act of 2018. Okay. The functions, okay, so the delegation in this memorandum shall apply to any provisions of future public law that are the same or substantially the same as the provision referenced in this memorandum. And this is also published in the Federal Register, folks. Oh, I'm not screen sharing, sorry. If you want to take a look at that. Okay. Statement from the press secretary. There's more of that. Okay, let's look at the 1600. President Trump signs order on safe policing. Exactly. We know about this executive order. Moments after he met with families who have lost loved ones to violence, many involving deadly interactions with the police, President Trump took historic action today to deliver safety and security for Americans of every race and background. We are one nation, we grieve together, we heal together. Today's executive order pursues common sense reforms to public safety while rejecting fringe anti-police demands. I strongly oppose the radical and dangerous effort to defund, dismantle, and dissolve our police departments, especially now when we've achieved the lowest record crime rates in recent history, according to the president. This is a clip from the president talking about this. If you'd like to hear. Here we go. Let's do it again.
Believe we must support the brave men and women in blue who police our streets and keep us safe. Americans also believe we must improve accountability, increase transparency, and invest more resources in police training, recruiting, and community engagement. That is why today I'm signing an executive order encouraging police departments nationwide to adopt the highest professional standards to serve their communities. We will have reform without undermining our many great and extremely talented law enforcement officers. Today's action is a big part of the solution to restoring, renewing, and rebuilding our communities. We may all come from different places and different backgrounds. We're united by our desire to ensure peace and dignity and equality for all Americans.
Yeah, and you know, the president and the police are well aware that, you know, the few bad apples that have been out there have given them all a bad name. But you know, you can't hold, you can't hold, you know, you can't paint all of the police with one broad brush. Okay, if there's, you know, police that are acting inappropriately, you know, you need to do something about that. But they have a tough job. Just know they have a tough job. Okay, so let's continue with what the president has to say over here. Hold on a second. Yeah. So that was the president signing the executive order. And it's good to recognize that you know, the president is trying to be proactive when it comes to reforms. I mean, you know, he realizes that, you know, there's problems, and you know, I'm glad that he's at least willing to do something about it. Many of the same politicians now presenting themselves as the solution are the same ones who have failed for decades on schools, jobs, justice, and crime. They're all often, unfortunately, the same politicians running the cities and states where help is most needed. Americans both support the brave men and women in blue and believe we must improve accountability, increase transparency, and invest more in law enforcement training. President Trump's actions today recognize and build on these goals. 1, certification. The Justice Department will now allocate certain funding only to law enforcement agencies that meet high standards for use of force and de-escalation, as credentialed by reputable independent bodies. As part of this new credentialing, chokeholds will be banned except if an officer's life is at risk. I mean, this is what happens when you're trained by the Israeli army, right? Or the Israeli security forces. I mean, you know, they're gonna, some of the police are gonna, you know, have some, or some people, you know, the police mostly, that's what they're referring to. If the police are being trained by, you know, the Israeli security forces, well, you know, maybe that's not in accordance with our protocols here, which it seems like it's not. Some of it, right? Information sharing. The Attorney General will create a database for federal, state, and local law enforcement to track terminations, criminal convictions, and civil judgments against law enforcement officers for excessive use of force. Yeah, man, there is no way that this should be permitted. I mean, excessive use of force, right? But again, a video doesn't show everything. I mean, and I'm not referencing George Floyd, but I'm saying that even some videos can clearly show something, a person threatening an officer's life, but and resisting arrest and things like that, and could show them on drugs and all other things. How do you reprimand? How do you put someone in cuffs that's on drugs and crazy? It's a tough job. So anyway, mental health. To protect both officers and our most vulnerable populations, the administration will prioritize training for police and social workers who respond to incidents involving the mentally ill, addicted, and homeless. And legislative action. The administration will develop and propose new legislation to Congress to build on these policies and boost community engagement. Reducing crime and raising police standards are not opposing goals. President Trump said, today's executive order protects decent, law-abiding officers while holding those who abuse their badge accountable for their actions. We will reduce crime and raise standards, the president says, and there's a clip on that. So you can come here. He's interested in he knows that we want safer communities. We've been reducing violent crime. In many cases, the law enforcement is underfunded, understaffed, and undersupported. So the last thing our country needs is to make the jobs of good, decent police officers more difficult. So I don't really think I need to say that, but that most of the police officers are very good, hardworking, and dedicated individuals. Okay, so this was in the Rose Garden today, and that was the video I just showed. This is a picture from that video of the signing of that executive order. I feel like I can't talk. There was a bill announcement today, Law Enforcement Suicide Data Collection Act, which establishes the Law Enforcement Officers Suicide Data Collection Program to collect data on the suicides and attempted suicides of law enforcement officials. That's sad. Major Medical Facility Authorization Act of 2020, which authorizes various major medical facility construction projects of the Department of Veterans Affairs and authorizes various appropriations to carry out those projects. What else? I have some other, let's see if this is yeah. So this is it. So we talked about the president taking steps to strengthen relations between law enforcement and their communities. We did go over this just now. We must invest more energy and resources in police training and recruiting and community engagement. Fine. You can come to the blog and take a look at this. Uniting American Communities. President Trump is taking action to unite our nation and ensure safer communities for all Americans. Last year alone, 89 law enforcement officers were killed in the line of duty. It seems like Antifa didn't mention that, and the protesters didn't mention that. Interesting. In 2018, our police arrested nearly 12,000 people for murder and manslaughter, 25,000 people for rape, and nearly 1.5 million for assault. This is why we all need to have concealed carry, right? We all need to have concealed carry if we want it. Keeping Americans safe. President Trump is improving fairness and equality in our criminal justice system while keeping our communities safe. President Trump has led the way on groundbreaking criminal justice reform, taking a smart on-crime approach to make our communities safer. And the president's been very proactive in this, and you can come here to the blog and take a look at this, okay? And also, so actually here's the executive order on the safe policing for communities. You can come to the blog and read the entire executive order here. It's also published in the Federal Register for you to view there as well. And you defund the police and you destabilize urban communities. So these protesters are anarchists, let's call them that, right? The anarchists think that they're all anonymous. They all feel they're anonymous, which is why they believe they're anonymous, and they believe they're not going to get caught and prosecuted for what they're doing. But I'm going to show you a few pictures of some who did get caught. In fact, I'll show you right now. Let's show a few pictures of some of these thugs that have been caught. It's on the, oh boy, it's on the Twitter page for the GoldFish Report. You can come check it out. Here you have it. These are some of the people who were arrested from Antifa. All right. Maybe they have trouble getting jobs, you think? Maybe they just took whatever, job they could get. Looks like it. And these are from Portland. And then I have a few more here. Hold on a second. Found some more. We just can't let this continue to happen, folks. We cannot let this continue to happen. We have to get our leaders, we got to get these politicians to do the right thing. Yeah. The funny thing is that I am hearing about arrests being made. See this? Here's a photo here of these people in the Chaz area, right? And they're walking around. Some have masks, some don't. Some, not all are social distancing, right? But there's no rules there, right? There's no rules. I don't know, folks. I just think this is a lot of trouble. And here, this is it, okay? A Chaz chop. This is what happens when you defund the police and you kick the police out of your autonomous zone, right? Check this out.
Create a space for me. This dude needs space.
Getting back up.
I am the guardian, homie.
All you're doing is talking loud.
That's our song.
I'm hard song.
Yeah, everybody back up. Get back into space.
Can you go get me a medic, please? I have no idea.
Where are they located?
I don't know. I'm trying to get it right here, right now. Can you not touch him, please? Because I don't know what's wrong. That's why I wanted to know. Are you the medic? Beautiful. That's what we need. Can you help us? Thank you. Perfect. I got you. Create a space for me. This dude needs space.
Well, that's what happens, right? No 911's coming to rescue you. No ambulance, no hospital, right? You don't need it. You don't need it. Not such a good idea now, is it? So, folks, let's see. Let's finish up this night. It's been quite a long report. I want to get this done. And let's see what else we have. So there we have it. You defund the police. And, there's not going to be any first responders here, right? Defunding America's police departments is dangerous. Stripping resources away from local law enforcement will lead to animosity, increased lawlessness, and have a disproportionate impact on urban communities that actually need them the most in a truly devastating fashion. Surveys of urban communities show residents generally want more policing, not less. That includes 68% of Chicagoans in low-income neighborhoods, for example. Yeah, what about all these people who are getting shot and killed? What about all these murders in Chicago? How come these anarchists, how come they're not tearing down cities? Because there's such abuse, right, over what's happening in Chicago. It's all social engineering, folks. There's puppet masters pulling the strings and funding this. There was a car with loaded with AR-15s, right? Who's funding this? Who's funding these weapons to go into this Chaz area, right? Who's funding it? You know who's funding it. Okay, so as public health officials warn of a new surge in coronavirus cases following mass protests in densely populated cities, the New York City Mayor's Office has instructed its contact tracing team not to ask tested individuals if they participated in the crowded demonstrations. Really? So they're warning of a new surge, but they don't want to know if you were at the protest. This is a joke. This is a joke. This is such a joke. This is such a joke. It's not even funny. Folks, this is the majority of the report for tonight. I just want to check in with our live chat. How's everybody doing? Yeah, it's really going to be trouble. What does everybody think about this? Yeah. I mean, are these people, folks, do you think these people are being MK'd? Yeah? Targeted? Triggered? We've seen it before, right? What the heck's going on with these people? You saw what that one person, hi Slim, how you doing? Thank you. You saw what that one person had to say in the Zimbardo study, right? Should play it again. Let's play it again.
I had really thought that I was incapable of this kind of behavior. I was surprised, I was dismayed to find out that I could really be that I could act in a manner so absolutely unaccustomed to anything I would even really dream of doing. And while I was doing it, I didn't feel any regret. I didn't feel any guilt. It was only afterwards, when I began to reflect on what I had done, that this behavior began to dawn on me, and I realized that this was a part of me I hadn't really noticed before.
Look at that, folks. Look at that. Oh boy. So I'm going to end on that because I think that sums it up, and let's realize that there's a lot of psychology involved in this, and a lot of it is engineered based on our psychology. And we can't fall into this. We can't fall into this, folks. We need to do better. We need to do better than this. We can do better than this. That's the message for tonight. So Spec Ops, I see you in there. Everyone else here, the sheeple will stay sheeple. Trying to wake them up is like pulling out teeth. And I have to tell you, I can't disagree. I think that, I think that there's different souls that contract for different experiences here on this earth, right? We all have to follow certain basic rules, though, in order for us to coexist. That we have to do. Apparently, everybody's interpretation of human, decency is different. So we have to follow laws, right? And, that's where this is going to go, But clearly, there's different people with different agendas. It's hard to say, everybody is created equal, right? But not everybody participates in society equally. Not everybody gets out of society the same thing, because not everybody's willing to invest and put in the same thing, the same amount of work, the same amount of investment, the same amount of integrity, the same amount of dedication, the same amount of morals, the same amount of loyalty. Not everybody's willing to do that. So when you don't get what you want, it's not somebody else's fault in most cases. It's your own, right? But nobody wants to see that, because everybody likes to play that victim card. Sure is convenient, isn't it? Unless, of course, you have been truly victimized. But I'm talking about people who play the victim card when nobody has victimized them. No, metaphorical, character has victimized them, right? So what are we going to do? I don't know, but we're going to keep talking about it on the GoldFish Report, because clearly there's a lot of different agendas going on out there. Clearly we are in a silent war. There's a war within our government. We saw what Bolton published today. I mean, this man's a traitor, and, if this is classified information, then, he'll be prosecuted. That's against the law. Hey, Mississippi. James in Mississippi, how are you guys? Yeah, it's hard to know exactly, but I can tell you in terms of the MK Ultra, but I can tell you that they do use these frequencies for mass, for population, for crowd control, right? It's not a secret. It's out in the open. It's out in the public. There's been many reports on this. And, you know, what else are they using it for? You know, are we talking about the military industrial complex? Are we talking about the deep state? Are we talking about the silent war that's going on within our government, where, you know, Trump is trying to lead the country into victory and with the patriots? And then there's the shadow government that President Kennedy talked about, right? So folks, hang in there. I think things are going to get a little bit more crazy, but protect yourself and your family. We have the Second Amendment for a reason. And, you know, I'm going to keep doing this as long as I possibly can. I don't know how long that will be, but, you know, I just don't know when this is going to end. I don't know when the insanity is going to end. Right? The people are in a trance. These people are in trances. They must be in a trance, right? What's happening in America, guys? Is this our country? Is this what we want for ourselves? Is this what we want for our children? What are our children going to inherit? What are we allowing? I'm going to tell you something. I'm not going to stand by, regardless of whatever the outcome is going to be. I'm not going to stand by and tell my kids I did nothing. And I don't think any of you want to say the same. I think any of you want to say anything but that. I think you all want to say that as well. Do something, anything, just something. So you all have a great night. I know, Spec Ops, I know, I hear you. It's very disappointing trying to wake people up, but guess what? This shenanigans that's going on is going to be it's going to red pill a lot of people. Not only is this going to ensure a Trump victory in November, no matter what they're doing, it's failing. The scamdemic failed, the coronavirus failed, it's failing. Nothing's working for them, for the deep state, right? Nothing's going to work. They're probably going to have a fake alien invasion soon because they have nothing left, right? What cards do they have? You know, nuclear war? Well, that's not so good. And I guess we can't really thank God for chocolate. I hear you, Sherry. Where is it? Hold on a second, guys. Hold on. I'm going to end my report now, but you're absolutely right, Sherry. Here we go. I got mine never too far away in my desk drawer. Although that's really not the best chocolate, but that's all I had access to because everything else has been closed. So here you go. Can't really get anything better. That's true. Sea Rider. I don't know, folks. I don't know where we're going, but we can't. Yeah. Yeah, 1 million people, over 1 million people responded to the email about the Trump rally in Tulsa, Oklahoma. All right, Okies. Love my Okies. So I really hope so, guys. I hope you all have a great night. Thanks for tuning in and thanks for being with me and for your comments. And, you know, going after the video is uploaded, if you can go in the comment section and just tell me what your experiences have been like. Yeah. Yes, I have news on Austin. Austin is doing okay, and he's organizing a group of people to help work on some projects that he has. I just spoke to him last night, Austin Steinbart, and you know, it's going to take some time for Austin to become available because he's busy working on building a company and being able to employ himself, which was one of the conditions of the court, of course. So he's busy trying to do that. Yeah. All I can say, folks, is keep your chocolate close by. Keep it close by. When all else fails, have some chocolate. So go into the comment section, everyone, and just comment nicely, because things that are not polite are going to be deleted. Okay? And if you threaten me, I will report you to the FBI. So just know that. And I know most of our viewers would never think of something like that, but folks, it has happened. And, you know, there's no need for that. just let me know what your experience has been like. How many times have you seen people during this COVID, this scamdemic, right, who were blindly obedient? You know, they were assuming authority. They assumed it. No, I don't think the store gave them any authority, but they're assuming it because they're in that position of being that cashier. I'm a cashier and I have authority over you. You know, it's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. It's the power of the social situation, folks. And a lot of people are unhinged and they can't handle the power. They can't handle it. They're overusing it. They're overreaching it. And it's really, you know, this has to end. It's time to end this. So the governors in the tri-state area, Governor Murphy, end it now. Okay? We didn't vote you in to be a dictator, Governor Cuomo. Nobody voted you to be a dictator. So enough is enough. But I guess, you know, when 1 million people show up at your front door, maybe you'll change your mind. Peacefully show up at your front door. Because it's time to end this, the BS. It's time to end it. It's it. Nobody believes Fauci. Nobody believes Birx. Nobody believes these people. We believe the whistleblower, Dr. Judy Mikovits. So it's time for us to stand up, folks. It's time for us to not allow this to go any further. It's too much. It's having a negative impact, not in every possible way. But the people can't handle this. And people are stressed out. They're stressed out by all these draconian restrictions as it is. Being stuck in their homes, being limited to going out, and having to always have this mask on every time you go somewhere. And, you know, I wear glasses, so for me, it's like I can't even see. I can't see, and I can't breathe. It's very difficult. She said the masks don't help anybody. And how many doctors came out on YouTube saying the same thing, that the masks don't help people, you shouldn't be wearing them. Oh, but I had to have this guy in Target tonight tell me my mask wasn't appropriate. Okay, I'm going on this again. You know, I'm so triggered by this. Oh, God, these people, it's got to end. It's got to stop now. Enough is enough. So, you know, I can say I did not vote these Democrat governors into office. I did not vote for them. But I can tell you our last Republican governor didn't do anything to, you know, in my opinion, to help people either, especially people who are in the family court system. So, you know, he was just one of the guys, right? The good old boys club. What are you going to do? But it's a different ball game now. I think we have a very different ball game. I think Trump's trying to put in, you know, constitutional judges into the federal courts. And let's see what happens, folks. Let's all get involved. Let's all find out what we can do. Let's all participate in our democracy, or we're absolutely never going to have a chance to restore it, honestly. So you guys have a great night. Thank you so much for joining me. I will be back. Let's see. Oh, I'm going to be back tomorrow. I'm doing a report with Dr. Scott Werner. We have a very uplifting message in our Food for the Soul series on GoldFish Report. So you're going to like that. And God knows we need it. So I'll see you all back tomorrow morning. Have a great night, everybody. And thanks for joining me. This concludes this edition of the GoldFish Report.